Hi, everybody. I'm Candid Frank. He's Aaron William Freeland, and this is Maple Leaf Talk, or Leaf Talk, a different variety. It also includes the Maple Leaf hockey team, but mostly it covers those teams and athletes that wear that beautiful symbol that's behind me, the country that we all adore. We do all adore it, don't we, Aaron?
Well,
Okay.
I can only speak for myself,
and I can only speak for myself, and I know I can't speak for some people, so it is what it is, right? Okay, so let's start with, of course, the Bucks. What's happening there, Aaron?
Well, you can tell we're deep into silly season. The camps haven't started yet, and news is running a little bit thin. But the Sporting News actually came up with an interesting trade proposal, and the idea was Dave Holcomb of Sports Illustrated was like, well, what if the Raptors were to trade for Giannis Antetokounmpo?
A lot of talk about that.
Yeah, despite the fact that he seems glued to the Bucks and cemented to them, one of the trades would be Giannis straight up for Emmanuel Quickly, Ochai Agbaji, a 2026 first-round pick, a 29 first-round pick, 31 first-round pick, and 32 first-round pick. Now, this only makes sense for Milwaukee, obviously, if Antetokounmpo elects to be traded in the summer. But that's only because Quickly's got a high upside, even with his injury problems. And Agbaji, along with 4 first-round picks, is good value for Milwaukee. That'll help Milwaukee in the immediate future transition away from the Greek Freak and sort of start to try to build a brand new core. Now,
I'm seeing a big middle finger coming up from all the fans of the Raptors who know that would be ridiculous.
Oh, 100%.
That would be crippling to the Raptors.
It would guaranteed be crippling to the Raptors. 4 first-round picks like that, and two of those players is one of those things where it's like, what are you, nuts? Sort of moment. But
although
yeah,
he would be the best player available in the trade.
Well, I mean, with all of the ridiculous
picks,
with all of the ridiculous trades that have been floated out there, I mean, it's not necessarily the worst idea that anybody.
No, but I wouldn't go for that. I wouldn't go for that.
You can tell some websites are desperately reaching for content with that sort of stuff.
But, yeah, let's move on from that because I'm getting a little bit of coming up here, a little something coming up. Thinking about that trade, oh my God! I know that the former president, who's gone, was big on bringing GA in, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure that this management team wants to bring them in and basically mortgage a lot of their future in the hopes that one guy, without the draft picks that you need to build around them. That's the sanity that I think is not very good thinking wise.
No.
Okay, let's talk about the Jays. Scherzer won his 3rd straight start. Good for him, man.
Yeah. He put in 6 innings worth of work. Alejandro Kirk and Andres Jimenez homered, and the Blue Jays managed to pull one out 10-4 on Monday. Vladdy added a 2-run single. And that's actually the 30th time the Jays have won in 39 home games. Scherzer allowed 4 runs and 4 hits, including 2 homers. He struck out 5 and walked 1. He's now 10-2 in 19 career starts against the Twins. Matt Wallner homered twice off Scherzer, his 18th and 19th, but this is the 6th loss in 7 games for the Twins. Joe Ryan gave up 4 runs and 4 hits in the first inning. Bichette got a ribby. And the 2nd run scored on Dalton Varsho's sacrifice fly before Kirk got his 2-run home run. That was his 11th. Comedy of errors, man. But it was Kirk's 2-out first pitch homer in the first that I think was what did it for them. Interesting statistic: the Blue Jays are 57-3 when they score 5 or more runs.
Wow. Good for them. The one thing that they're going to have to figure out, but they've got a big pitching staff. They're when the playoffs come, starters can become relievers, whether it be middle relievers, short relievers, not necessarily closers. So, guys like Berrios, because of the trades, who he's having difficulty. Maybe the best thing for him is to put him in the bullpen and basically say to him, okay, 1 pitch at a time, buddy. You're not pitching 90. You're not making 97 pitches in 6 innings. you're basically going to go out there, and I just need you to concentrate on every batter one at a time and see if he has any success in doing it. That's something that maybe even now you trot him out there and give a shot like that to some pitchers that, because they have the 2 extra pitchers they brought in. And don't forget, there's a couple other pitchers who may be coming back from injury. So, you can only have 5 starters in the playoffs. You're not going to have a 6th. I don't think so. You might, but I don't think so. I think 5 is a good rotation in the playoffs. If you can go five pitchers strong, because you're not going to want to stay away from your top 2 that long.
No.
So you want to trot them out at least. So yeah, that's the situation. As far as Hoffman's concerned, I don't know what his problem is. I'm sure they'll figure it out. And when they do, there'll be a decision made.
Well, it was his 7th blown save of the season. He is 8-5 on the course of the season, but there are nights when he's had it. There are nights when he hasn't. I'm wondering if maybe he's pitching from too high up. He is 6'5", so that he's throwing down on the plate from the mound.
Want him to level off the mound when he's pitching?
Well, the mound is hydraulically controlled, so it can go up and down. They may be able to customize it for him. But here's the thing. He's got a 4.77 ERA. He allowed a home run on the first batter that he faced. He hit 2 guys, and then there was Matt Wallner hit a 3-run shot for their second homer of the 9th inning. That doesn't inspire a lot of confidence.
He's hearing footsteps, Aaron. Maybe he's hearing footsteps. Maybe because they brought pitchers in, he knows there's going to be some changes, and he's putting too much pressure on himself.
I mean, it's possible. He's just converted 2 of his last 5 save opportunities, and his ERA went from 4.77 to 6.75 in his last 7 appearances.
Yeah,
it's a tough position to be.
Got to clean up his act, man. He's got to clean up his act. Otherwise, they'll just have to put him on the sidelines until they are desperate for a new pitcher, which could be the case. He's going to get time to think about his pitching. Let's go over to tennis and talk about some Canadians.
Yeah, so Shapovalov and OJ Aliassime actually advanced to the second round at the U.S. Open. Shapovalov was seeded 27th in the men's draw. He won his first round match, beating Hungary's Marton Fucsovics 6-4, 6-4, 6-0. The slightly higher seeded Felix OJ Aliassime at 25th played Billy Harris, but still didn't drop a set. He won 6-4, 7-6 in the tiebreak, 6-4. This win means all 3 seeded Canadians in the men's main draw are in the second round, because Gabriel Diallo defeated Damir Jumir of Bosnia and Herzegovina on Monday. So Shapovalov is going to be facing Valentin Royer tomorrow, and OJ Aliassime will be playing Russia's Roman Safiullin also on Thursday. It's a busy time here for us, so it's going to be interesting.
My goodness, Venus Williams was back, 45 years old. She lost in the opening round, but she played really well enough that Leila Fernandez is going to be her partner in doubles, Aaron. What the heck's up with that?
Yeah, so she's going to be competing after she got a wild card entry. So she's going to be playing with Leila Fernandez yesterday, actually it was. It's her first Grand Slam tournament in 2 years after making a comeback to pro tennis in July, following 16 months away from the tour. She did unfortunately get put out in the first round, but that is what happens. I mean, she's the oldest person on tour right now, and she's the oldest person to play singles, at least, since 1981. So, wow. I mean, she's got 7 Grand Slam singles titles. She also owns 14 major titles in women's doubles, along with her younger sister Serena as her partner. 2 of those actually they won in New York in 1999 and 2009. Venus and Serena last played together in 2022. That was the year that Serena played her final singles match there. So good to see them actually pairing up. Hopefully it'll bring Leila Fernandez a little bit of success.
Let's talk about Cadillac, and we're not talking cars. We're talking Formula One.
Yeah. So Cadillac is going to be the 11th team on the grid when the 2026 season starts. They have finally, after months of speculation, chosen their first 2 drivers. One of them is former Kick Sauber driver Valtteri Bottas, and the second is former Red Bull driver Sergio Perez, also known as Checo. They're going to be starting with a little bit of a disadvantage, mainly because it's an American team that, other than Haas, doesn't have a lot of experience in this type of racing. So they're going to try to bring years of F1 knowledge to Cadillac, try to get them a little bit of a jump start here. They've been considered front runners for a while now. So it'll be interesting to see how this goes for them. Realistically, I don't expect Cadillac to do well in their first year, but at least they've given themselves a solid foundation of drivers who can provide guidance, let them know what's going on with the car. Both have a wealth of experience testing cars, so they can provide information that way, and a lot of experience in sims. So looks like it's going to be an interesting start. To follow on to that, there was a lot of speculation that former Red Bull team principal Christian Horner might have been picked up, but Cadillac quickly put the kibosh on that, saying no, they'd never had any intentions to talk to Christian. Anything coming out about that is just speculation and foo-for-oh.
Let's go over to hockey and let's talk about the Atlantic. And I guess there's a reference here that maybe the Atlantic will be a 3-tier division, and those 3 tiers mean going to be difficult to make the playoffs.
I mean, there are the teams are going to be in the playoffs, and then there are the teams that might be in tough, and then there are the other teams where we're just kind of placeholders at this point.
I think you're going to have the toughest Atlantic division and probably the most volatile one in years. With lots
sure.
Ottawa, Montreal, my goodness.
Well, if for sure there is guaranteed there's a first tier group, and that first tier group is obviously the Leafs, the Lightning, and the Panthers. Lightning because of their recent Stanley Cup success, Panthers because of their back-to-back wins, the Leafs because they've done a lot to try to keep themselves in the running here. They've re-signed Tavares and Nyes. They've got Lawton. They've signed a whole bunch of new folks. Florida might actually have the best forward group currently in the league. They managed to re-sign Sam Bennett and Brad Marchand. Now, losing Matthew Tkachuk for at least the start of the season is going to be a bit of a pain, but they've still got Alexander Barkov, Sam Reinhart, Aaron Ekblad, Seth Jones, Gustav Forsling, Sergei Bobrovsky. They're certainly not going to be pushovers. The Tampa Bay Lightning still have Kucherov, Point, and Gensel. Hedman leads the way on defense, and Vasilevsky is still a top-tier goalie. Now, once you get through those guys, you're looking at the second tier, and that's where these are teams that have made solid strides forward but aren't necessarily in contention yet. And in particular, we're looking at the Sens and Canadians here. The Habs are arguably the most improved this offseason. They got Dobson and Bolduc. Demidov is gearing up for his first NHL season. Ottawa's become a little more consistent. At least their players have started to play together well, and they've acquired. They managed to re-sign Claude Giroux. So that is where it's going to be interesting. Finally, you've got the bottom tier, the tier 3 teams. This is Buffalo, Detroit, and Boston. These guys are going to be in tough to try to get their way out of the bottom of the division. Sabres and Red Wings are going to be in dire straits if they fail to make the playoffs. Kevin Adams and Steve Yzerman may lose their jobs if they don't make notable strides next year. So that third tier that we're looking at there may have the most pressure. The Bruins, everybody knows that they've been trying to resell and retool and rebuild. They got rid of Marchand, Carlo, and Coyle last season. Maybe Boston stays at the bottom for his second year. Maybe not. Their chances may improve of getting Gavin McKenna or even James Higgins. So anyway you look at it, this Atlantic division is going to be tough.
I would have a fourth tier. And the fourth tier would be beside the first and second tier. And all alone in that tier would be Toronto. Because I don't think there's any predictability on whether they'll be in that first tier or second tier. So I kind of think they're they're kind of another group beside those other two, because goodness knows where they'll end up, Aaron. We really don't know, because logic, just numerical logic, statistic logic would indicate that minus their top, one of their top point producers of the past 10 years being gone, will create a vacuum. But again, we've talked before about addition by subtraction can be a case. The team might be more balanced without Marner because of the money that he was getting paid or would have been paid spread around. So that's why I think this division is very volatile. I really believe that Ottawa and Ottawa proved, how competitive they were. Montreal made it into the playoffs. They ended up playing the other division, the Metro division. They have made a lot of changes. And you pointed out earlier in the past couple of weeks that they've lost a couple of good players too. So everybody's concentrating on the new stuff that's come in, the new players that have come in, but they haven't considered the old players that have left. Just like the Leafs lost Marner, they lost a few experienced players that scored a lot of points. So it's going to be very, very volatile. There are a lot of candidates to make the playoffs. And then, of course, the Atlantic division, which has an impact on what happens. And that's another tier that'll interfere with the playoffs for the Atlantic division. So it's a question of how many wild cards are going to be dominated by, is it the Atlantic that's going to take all the wild cards, or are they going to share, with the Metro division? That's the big question, really, as far as, where those teams end up in the playoffs. This could be a tough year, a really tough year for a lot of teams. And this might be the toughest year where the playoffs may not be decided until the last couple of days. We've seen it close to that the past couple of years, but I think we're going to see something even more competitive than we've seen before. I think I'm not positive, but I think
strange days for sure. I'll be that clear about it.
It's going to be a lot of fun. Speaking of the Senators, tell me about Nick Jensen.
So one of the big stories last year was Nick Jensen, who underwent off-season hip surgery. It was a procedure that he was hoping to avoid, but ultimately couldn't. It locked up on him last November following a game in San Jose. While he'd experienced similar issues earlier in his career, the problem didn't go away. So at the end of the season, the decision was finally made. He was going in for a hip resurfacing. He spent a lot of time last season grinding through the pain, spending more time than he'd like on the trainer's table before deciding surgery was really the only solution. He's back training and skating and feeling a little bit optimistic about it. He's saying every day life is way better now. Family life, playing with the kids, that sort of thing. It's one of those, they tried injections, they tried medication, all that stuff. None of it really had the answer. So, to sort of compensate for that, the Sens also signed Cameron Crotty, a free agent from the Minnesota Wild. Jordan Spence and Lassie Thompson were also stockpiled last season because, it seemed pretty clear to Sens management that he was going to be missing some time. But once he is actually back, that should make a really dependable blue line for them.
Absolutely wonderful. Let's talk about the Jets. Another hit problem. This one on Adam Lowry, the captain of the Jets.
Now, there's not a lot of news that has come out about him, but the good news is that he's skating again. Now, the normal time for recovery after hip surgery is typically 5 to 6 months, which would have Lowry returning sometime in November or December. At 32 years old, he's obviously not the youngest guy out there, but after another 30-point season, even with his hip issues, his plus 18 rating was third best amongst Winnipeg forwards, while he also laid 140 hits. Now, he was on a line with Nito Niederreiter and Mason Appleton. That was one of the most effective shutdown lines there. His absence, along with Appleton's, is going to test the rest of the Jets lineup for sure. But the good news is, again, he's back skating and he's back training. So that's a bright spot for them.
Absolutely. Let's talk about the Flames. And Zane Parekh is has in the news.
Yep. He's actually been selected to take part in the 2025 NHLPA Rookie Showcase, which is Wednesday, September 3rd at MedStar Capitals Iceplex in Arlington, Virginia. Now, this is the 15th year that they've run the event. It's hosted by the NHLPA and hockey card maker Upper Deck, and it brings together more than 30 of the league's top prospects and rookies for photos and video sessions that'll be featured on trading cards and in other media. Parekh is widely regarded as one of hockey's most gifted young blue liners, and among the marquee names featured in this year's Rookie Showcase. So it's a good opportunity for him to get his name out there, increase his media presence a little bit, and bring a little more attention to the Flames draft pick. He had back-to-back 30-goal seasons. His 2024 campaign included 33 goals and 74 assists for 107 points in 61 games as the OHL Defenseman of the Year and CHL Defenseman of the Year. So he's off to a really good start, just hoping to increase his presence out there.
Maple Leafs have a pretty good prospect on defense, Ben Danford. He's being invited to the same Upper Deck NHLPA Rookie Showcase, and he's a guy who his stock is rising, has risen since this season in junior.
Yeah, most definitely. He's currently at the Oshawa Generals training camp, and he was one of the 31 that were invited. He's coming off a strong season with the Jennies, where he captained the club to the OHL Championship Series against Easton Cowan and the London Knights. Oshawa was only able to win one game in the series, with London taking home the OHL title and the Memorial Cup a few weeks later. But Danford had 5 goals and 20 assists in 61 games with the Jennies last season. Although his point total was lower than the year prior, he improved a lot of areas of his game, including his puck distribution. It's one of those things where he's a solid pick. I don't know if he's NHL ready yet. I don't think he is. I think he may need a year or two in the AHL, but he could prove me wrong. He's going to be at the Upper Deck NHLPA Rookie Showcase with Ryan Leonard, Brandon Yeager, Carter Yakemchuk, and Tej Iginla, who is the son of Jerome Iginla. So that's a good company to be in.
Excellent, actually. Leafs Berube, Senators Green, Devils Keefe. They all have interesting challenges in year 2 in those organizations as their coach.
Oh, most definitely. The interesting thing that connects all 3 of those guys is they're all ex-Maple Leafs players as well. So,
Maple Leafs make good coaches. What can I say?
Hey, those that can do, those that can't coach. So,
all right.
Close enough. But, after remaking the Leafs in Berube's image, it's going to be interesting to see where they go. They've got a much deeper group of forwards now, despite having lost Marner. Toronto's got to improve next season. There's only one way. That's only one way to look at it. They've got to make it past the second round this time around. Travis Green with the Ottawa Senators. He guided Ottawa to 4th place in the Atlantic with a 45-30-7 record, as well as the Sun's first playoff appearance since 2017. I'm sure the Ottawa would have liked to have done better than they did against the Leafs after losing in 6, but Rome wasn't built in a day. So the development and the stages that Green is taking them through, especially with his assistant coaches, is consistent. Keefe, New Jersey finished 3rd in the Metropolitan with a 42-33-7 record, but failed to make it past the first. Failed to make it past the first round, which is something that seems to have followed him from the Leafs. The Leafs got rid of him in the 23-24 season for pretty much the same reason: inability to get past the first round. With Jack Hughes and Dougie Hamilton in and out of the lineup frequently. Timo Meier not being able to score at a 35-goal pace like he used to. Keefe may find himself in a bit of a sticky situation. I mean, in Toronto, he did prove himself to be a reasonably solid coach. But,
Look, everybody wants to win. Everybody tries to win. Some people don't get credit for how hard they're trying. Some people don't get credit for how smart they are and what they're doing. And some people are coaching teams that are limited, that have limitations. The question is, what organizations lift the ceiling on a team. You know, we've seen Florida do it back in the day. We saw Tampa do it. We've seen Colorado do it. We've seen Edmonton do it. At the end of the day, coaches are part of the team. We tend to, because there are coaches who have been for long stretches very, very good guys, you know, like Bowman, you know, with Montreal. He was great. And then Scotty Bowman, no matter where he went, he was a great coach and his teams played well. At the end of the day, here in the Atlantic Division, in the Metro Division, and in fact in the other divisions as well, the cap has evened everything out. And the truth is, how much difference do you really think, Aaron, there is between coaches when you think about it? You know, it's just, you know, it's great to talk about how great a coach is, but some of the best coaches are best coaches because of the players they have too. Some of the best players in the world are playing for really good coaches. That's what I'm saying. It's a combination thing. So as far as those three coaches are concerned, the question is what combination of contribution they will make to their organization to help them to raise the roof and a roof of possibility that their teams can have. That's the contribution that a coach can make. I look back at, we talked a bit about this before, the Leafs, their first coach, when they had their first coach with the core four, one of the best coaches in hockey, highest paid coaches, asked the GM to get some players for him that he thought he needed, didn't get them, he got fired. I'm asking this simple question. Does he get fired if the GM brings in the players that he asked for? We don't know the answer, but we do know that he knew the team he had wasn't good enough. And that's on the GM. And that's what I mean by the coaches have a contribution to make. And it's up to the GMs to listen. So these coaches are going to be very reliant. We know that with the Leafs. How reliant is their head coach of their general manager under the circumstances we're all aware of ad nauseum?
Hey, I'd like to pay Puckstradamus here and say that the Leafs would have continued to have done well, but you honestly, you can never tell. You'll never know at this point, and it's unfortunate because, you know, I would have liked to have seen, I would have liked them to have gone further with the coaching that they had, but unfortunately, it was not to be. So
carrying the cup, all right, requires doing things right and making the right moves. In the case of Toronto, and I make this, and I'm not, no tongue in cheek, totally seriously. If they had traded Marner when they could have, Keith might still be here.
You know, it's entirely possible.
True, right? You don't know that isn't true, that he gets the kind of players that he actually needs, because we know from the playoffs, Keith, a couple of years ago when that Amazon thing came out, he seemed to not be a big fan of Marner's. He seemed to be not a big fan of Marner's, and he did it on a internationally broadcast documentary. He called him out in between periods. Remember?
I do, and it was very uncomfortable watching that.
Exactly, and this is why Marner should have been traded. I know that, and I know that he was not a fit in Toronto, because how much he valued himself was overvaluing himself in the context of the Toronto Maple Leafs and what they needed. And he wasn't what they needed. Okay, we'll finish now with somebody who's hoping to be important to the Maple Leafs. That's Matt Benning. But he also says, I'm going into training camp to impress anybody. And that means not just the Leafs, anybody else who's watching.
And he's got a great opportunity to do that. Let's be honest here. He does say that he wants to be back in the NHL next season, particularly with the Leafs. But the thing that's counting against him sort of at this point is the fact that he's in the last year of a $1.25 million AAV contract. It's his fourth year. He's going to be an unrestricted UFA. They may have brought him in strictly to work with younger players at this point. He is 31 years old. He is a right-handed defensive shot. But, you know, it's one of those things where he's definitely got to work his way back in.
Well, if he ended up developing a really hard shot in this offseason, they could use him. Because one thing's for sure, all the defensemen the Leafs have, if they could find one that could hit that puck, shoot that puck with some authority, that guy would have an automatic lock to a position with the Leafs. Because it's something they don't have. It's something. It's not just a right-hand shot. It's the hard shot. It's what holds. It's what holds their oldest and best defenseman back, that he doesn't have a hard shot. He has a good shot, but not a hard shot. And you know what I'm referring to.
And it also doesn't hurt that his uncle Jim played 10 seasons in the NHL as a defenseman as well. There is a little bit of family lineage there. Jim Benning spent time with the Maple Leafs between 1981 and 1987. Yep. He was actually picked 6th overall in the 1981 NHL entry draft before going on to play for the Vancouver Canucks, the Milwaukee Admirals, and Varese Hockey Club over in Italy. So
if his nephew had a large portion of the offensive skills his uncle had, he'll make this team, because the Leafs don't have that. It's not a quality they have. They don't have a high-scoring defenseman in their lineup.
No, the problem is I don't think he does. In 77 games with San Jose back in 22-23, he had 1 goal and 23 assists for 24 points. So he's not exactly an offensive dynamo, but he could be capable at moving the puck on the back end for them. So he may slide in on PP2, PP3, that sort of thing. But
puck-moving defenseman is what helped Edmonton get to where they got.
Very true.
Made a conscious decision to not go for a shutdown defenseman. They went after puck-moving defenseman. That's the nature of hockey today, is moving the puck. And if you want to avoid pressure from teams like Florida, you got to move the puck. As soon as that puck stays in your zone, it's not leaving. If it doesn't leave right away, it could be there for a while.
No, Florida's just too good on the cycle game, and the Leafs have to figure out a way around that. And, Benning might be the key. You never know.
You never know. Aaron, thanks for doing this, buddy.
Not a problem, Frank.
He's Aaron William Freeland. I'm Candid Frank Stanishi. Thank you for watching, and good luck. Well, you know what? It's going to be an interesting season for all the NHL teams. It's going to be a battle. If you're a Montreal fan, you got lots of hope. If you're an Ottawa fan, like the Canadian teams, I'd like to see Calgary improve. Vancouver, I think that was an anomaly. That was an off season for them. Hopefully they'll straighten themselves out. The Canadian teams, hopefully they'll compete at a level that will make their fans happy.
Proof will be in the pudding.
Thanks for doing this, Aaron.
Appreciate it, Frank.
William Freeman. I'm Candid Frank Stanishi. Thank you for watching, everybody. See you next time. Have a great time.